Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're starting at about half an hour behind, but that's okay. So this is the May 28th, 2025 meeting of the Heritage Pickering Advisory Committee. I'm kind of be looking over here just so because I've got another screen of my of the agenda, but I got you guys all up here, so I'm going to be flowing back and forth. So just to go through the agenda, so review and approval of agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Sherry, and a second by Steve. Is there a disclosure? Anyone have any pecuniary interests at all linked to the project or the item that we're discussing? No? Okay.
Matt, just if you could just take a vote on the agenda.
Oh, the agenda. Sorry, I have to.
Ben Keith will note the vote.
Sorry, getting too ahead of myself now. So can we have a vote on the agenda, please?
Yep.
Yeah. Good.
Just raise your hands or say aye.
Okay, there we go. James
Aye.
got thumbs up. Perfect. Disclosure of pecuniary interests. Anyone on this one? Not seeing anyone. Great. So next up is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of April 23rd, 2025. Can I get a motion to adopt? Sherry, seconded by Rick, you're first up, and all in favor? We got good. All right, thanks, James. And delegations, we have no delegations this evening. And then new business. So our first item of new business is the memorandum from me regarding heritage permit HP 01-25 for 3230 North Road. The purpose of this is to consider a heritage permit application for the subject property to permit more or less the restoration and rehabilitation of this house, which is currently vacant, and to permit the addition of a 1.5-story rear addition and a wraparound porch around the north and east elevations. This property is within the Heritage Conservation District. It is a very old building from about 1840, I think it was, and it's been around. It was interesting. We were able to find it in the 1877 Ontario County Atlas. It was associated with the church that was originally across the street, and most likely was built by the same builder. This property has been purchased recently. We've been working. Well, actually, it was last fall. And we've been working with Custom CAD Incorporated to kind of massage their proposal for this rehabilitation, and it's going to. So there's going through the report, starting on the exterior walls. There's currently aluminum cladding on the side of the walls. They're going to be removing the non-historic aluminum cladding, replacing with the natural wood material, introducing appropriate board and batten siding, and maintaining visual compatibility with the district, which is very much something we're trying to get ourselves back into. The windows and doors, this one I've been trying to work with them. There are some original remaining windows and doors, there's remaining windows and doors on the property. The doors are not in great shape, I will say that. The windows are not in great shape, and but the owner wishes to replace all of them and enclose one of the doors on the north side, which is a secondary entrance, but rehabilitate the main entrance, which is on North Street. So they're going to be placing a new window openings as well on the south elevation, and those currently have kind of they're kind of mid-century windows that were installed probably at the same time. So that I think the house was all renovated just after the war, because it has a very much they have the siding, the front door, and those windows are all kind of 1950-ish. So I'm gonna guess that the house kind of went through one major renovation, and so unfortunately, like we haven't when I did site visits, we weren't able to determine what kind of siding was part of the original design of the house. But both board and batten and clapboard are permitted within the HCD. So they're going to be restoring the windows or replacing the existing windows with a 6/6 window configuration, which is going to be a double hung window, and those are historically windows. And they're also replacing the doors with historically appropriate doors. The one part here that it doesn't align with the HCD is that they are removing the windows and 2 original doors. The HCD doesn't require the retention of existing doors and windows. What it does is it recommends that they should be encouraged to maintain those existing doors and windows. And as I said, that we really did try and push them on that direction, but it was indicated that the replacement would be preferable for energy efficiency purposes. Going forward onto the porches and entrances, they're going to be adding a historically sympathetic wraparound porch, which is really going to enhance the building's appearance from both Churchwyn and from North Street. And we worked with zoning to permit the encroachment on the corner as part of this application, and we made sure that that was done in advance of the heritage permit being brought forward to committee. So that is that part. The roofing section, the original roof. So they are adding an addition onto the house. They're maintaining the original cruciform shape of the house. They're not changing the datum line for that roof line. Avoiding any major changes to the primary elevations, roof lines, and then preserving the historic chimneys, which ironically is not identified in, I noticed that afterwards, is it's not identified in the, so I think they're going to be bringing back the chimneys, because they did identify that the chimneys were going to be coming back in our conversations, so that is identified. Rear addition, locating the rear addition on the back end, which is recommended by the HCD guidelines, ensuring that the roof line remains compatible with the historic character, differentiating the new construction while keeping it visually harmonious. And the way I mentioned that is that the eaves lines don't go all the way down to the same level as the original house. And that's because the back end is narrower than what the original house is, but primarily the most important part is the ridge line, and they're maintaining that. Going on to historical color selections, we worked with them to make sure that they were going to be maintaining that. Those houses in Whitevale most likely would have been whitewashed finishes probably when they were originally constructed, because that would have been the most common thing to find. So they're doing white, and it's going to be black windows, and it's going to be a very simple country aesthetic. So we're recommending that this item be adopted or be recommended by. Okay, I'm getting a feedback. We're recommending that the committee recommend this report. As I said, the process for this is that it will go to council. It will go to Kyle Bentley, who's the commissioner, or who's the director of planning, and he'll be able to give that the green light and allow them to move forward with their building permits. So they're just finishing up the building process right now in terms of the building permits. So this is removes one of those roadblocks, because they wanted to get this construction project underway before during the summer, so that they can get the framing and the envelope enclosed before Christmas. So I want to open the floor to questions and see what people think and get your feedback. Rick?
Just you said they were going to be closing one access door. What is that access door that they're closing now? They're going to close off.
You're asking where does it lead to currently?
Yes.
It's leading to a hallway on the north side of the house. If you go to page, I'm trying to find where that page is. We got the drawings. It's The house has got a lot of doors in it right now for the size of the house that it is. I think it was probably for ventilation purposes. My guess is that they would probably provide as many doors to the house. But I think it's on page 13 of the report. Let's see here. Trying to scroll through this thing.
Now, just to Rick's question, they're not looking at getting rid of the front door, are they?
No, they aren't. They want to reutilize that.
Okay, because that's a vestibule. I've been in that house before. That's the vestibule, but they're turning it into their living room if you look at the drawings.
You got it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have what that is currently. I think it leads into the kitchen. Most like that north door basically leads into the kitchen. Like
it leads into the living room. Right now, there's a probably an 8x8 vestibule with 2 rooms on each side, but on their new drawings, it turns into a living room.
That's right. So the owner's really excited about this project because she really loves porches, and the Whiteville has a porch. I think it's like a porch party or something like that in the summertime.
Porch festival.
Porch festival.
September 21st.
September 21st. All right, I'm writing this date down. And I'm hoping like it's just really nice to finally breathe some life into this house. I think there's a lot of opportunity for reinvestment in Whiteville. This is a high profile location, so it's a really tasteful project. So at least from my perspective, we worked really hard, and we actually worked really hard as well to spec the materials, which is also something that I want to make sure that what gets built is what we've identified. So part of this project and part of the scope is specifically identifying the materials that are going to be used as part of that final project.
Matthew, if you have any questions, the house that's right across from me, not the white house, kind of like the beige color house, Mark did a renovation there 2 years ago. So the whole back house of that house is all brand new renovation. So you can look at what he did there with pine, board, and batten, and all the windows came from a builder in St. Jacobs in Kitchener Way. And you can look at that, and you can reflect of what that place on the corner will look like, what he's done. So
yeah, it's gonna look like that basically. Yeah, I'm seeing it right across the street from you on Street View. It's gonna look great. Does anyone else have any other questions about the report at all? Can we get a motion to adopt, I guess, or to recommend the report? So I got Steve up first, and I got seconded by Sherry. All in favor of the recommendation to accept the heritage permit? I think James, we got you. Heard you, James. Perfect. All right, so that is adopted, which is great.
I almost bought that house, and they paid less than what I offered them for it, to tell you the truth. Well, it's a funny. Yeah, I tried to buy it to renovate it for my daughter to move there with my grandkids, but just didn't work out.
There's and ironically, so this is actually a good. So we one of our other items here. 5.4 we'll get into in a second, because that is another house that might be moved to Whiteville. So let me bring this thing up here and go into our next items here.
And the house we've been talking about, that's been vacant for like 17 years.
Has it been that long?
Yep. It's a fight. The husband and wife separated, and there's 3 siblings, 2 brothers and 1 sister. And it just sat there for years. And the 1 sister kept mowing the grass and maintaining the house. And finally, that's when it went up for sale 1.5 years ago, because they just had enough and wanted to sell it.
Wow. Well, so moving on to 5.2, we've got an opening for the new Heritage Pickering Committee member. We have 2 applicants currently. Andy had it pushed a little bit more into the social spheres beginning, I think it was yesterday or the day before. So we got 2 applications in. if anyone, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a web link to the committee tomorrow. If any of you have anyone or know of any Facebook groups or anything like around that, or know of people who would be interested in joining the committee, please forward that. So I'll pass that on to the committee as soon as tomorrow morning. Okay. Going on for next one, 5.3, the Northern Facilities Report. This is actually an interesting report that was presented to council in April, and it is the city is, as you likely know, Seton Community Center is going to be a very large and expensive undertaking that the city hasn't done in a very long time. Part of that process is a consolidation of existing facilities within the northern part of the municipality. Those current ones include the Brome Community Hall, the Greenwood Library, Mount Zion Community Center, and the the former Green River Community Center. The Brome Community Hall, which we talked about a couple times, is a federally designated property. So it's not, and it's also a locally designated property. So it's not a concern in terms of its heritage value. It has been identified. There is now, we're just still working through the nuts and bolts of what that agreement's going to look like in terms of getting life back into that building. The Greenwood Library as well is a municipally designated building. The building, so all these buildings are looking to get either the question was, do they maintain their current use, or are they sold off? The Greenwood Library, the user numbers dropped off quite substantially in the early 2020s, and it closed. And so they're looking at selling that building off specifically, but it is protected under its designation bylaw, so it can't, no demolition permit can come in and say, I want to tear this thing down. The two that don't have any heritage listing or designation currently are the Green River Community Center, or the former Green River Community Center, just on the east side of Green River, and the Mount Zion Community Center, which is in northeast Pickering.
That looks like an old brick building up on one of the concession roads up there, the Zion building.
You got it. Yeah. Okay.
It's
that one. And it has a kind of a front that was added to it. It's a one-story addition that was added to the front. We're trying to, council's given direction for me to undertake a heritage assessment of both the Mount Zion Community Center as well as the Green River Community Center. I'll be providing that to the committee in the fall time. I'll be undertaking the research over the summer, preparing the report. So I wanted to give you guys all a heads up. That's going to be coming down the pipeline in Q3 or Q4 of this year. So just a heads up that we've got some heritage evaluations and regarding those two properties. The other two properties, as I said, we're not too concerned about. But there's an interesting story behind both of those two other facilities. So that's 5.3, Northern Facilities Report. 5.4, potential relocation of the Varden House to Whitevale. So this goes back to the Varden House that we brought forward in, I guess that was November or December. I think it was November. And that was regarding the demolition of the Varden House, which is a mid-19th century Ontario farmhouse, Port and Batten, with an addition on the rear of it, which is not original to the house. The mayor with FGF, the mayor approached FGF and asked to see if there was any ability for a community group, or if they were interested in facilitating a community group to relocate the house from its current location on Highway 7 over to a potential site at the corner of North Road and Whitevale. So on the northwest corner, it's this site, it's an abandoned, more or less falling down property right now that is the former Temperance Hall. It's currently owned by IO, and it's one of the holes in the Heritage Conservation District, because what they say, it's like a Swiss cheese Heritage Conservation District. So it's not officially designated, but there is a process that we need to go through. So I've approached, they reached out. The best way to say it is, so the Whitevale Residents Association reached out to me after they had been approached by Mayor Ash, and just to see what we can do to help. And I said, literally, I can't. I can't facilitate the relocation, but I can assist in terms of bringing people together and trying to help, make the gears move as much as I can within my sphere. So I've reached out to a house builder or house mover, and we've got a price point for the relocation of the house. We've reached out to IO. They're open to selling that lot at potentially below market rate, and FGF just wants it off their property. So the window to relocate this property would be the fall of this year. So we're going to be meeting up now that we've kind of got these first initial parts. I was originally going to be speaking with the Residents Association on Saturday, but I couldn't because I wasn't able to be at the Whiteville event. But we're now looking for, and we need to scout for possible people that are interested in purchasing this house, and that would be able to pay for the relocation of the house. I'm going to be setting up a meeting where I've set, Neelish, I think, hopes to set up a meeting with the mayor for next week or the next, because our timeline is short, just to brief the mayor as to where we are, and also to try and basically say we're going to need pressure on IO to move forward their sale process, which has been explained to me and is quite Byzantine. Because it needs an order from council, which is an order from the executive of the legislature in order to sell that parcel. They don't have an interest in keeping it. The house is the property. The house that's there right now is the former Temperance Hall. The floor has collapsed inside of the building, but there's other things that we don't know about the building. Like, was there an oil tank in the basement? Is there any site remediation that's required? So there's still a lot of questions as to what the site is, but I wanted to brief the committee because I think it's important to let everyone know that we're looking for people who could potentially be interested in purchasing this. As I said, FGF is willing to sell this thing for a very low price. The relocation, it's about 3.5 kilometers. The price that I've got back so far is about $90,000 for a relocation. And then the IO number hasn't been, because they couldn't give me a number just off the top of their heads in terms of what the value of the property is, but they were open to exploring that. So I wanted just to kind of brief everyone on this. If anyone has anyone that they're aware of that might be interested, a builder or a person who has a desire to live in Whiteville, please reach out to me, because we're now in that part of trying to find a suitor. There's going to be a requirement as part of that guarantees, so potentially a letter of credit or a guarantee of some kind that the property, that the work will be completed. I reached out to Markham. And asked them about how they facilitate their Heritage Estates program, and so they gave me their template, which does provide some kind of legal wording for what happens when, how does this actually go forward. So we're not kind of reaching out in the dark here, but we are reaching out in the dark in terms of trying to find someone who'd be interested in taking this on. So I wanted to put that out to the committee as something, and I'll be briefing the committee at the next meeting in June, just to give you an update, because I think this is a potential win. I would rather not lose the house, and as I said, the back end of the house is not original to the property, so we're really removing the head of the house, which isn't very big to begin with, and it's and it's been assessed. There's a few other things that need to happen, like there's permits in terms of relocating hydro to get the house there. Getting it down Highway 7 apparently is a bit of annoying, because there's MTO is a little hard to work with, but I think this is where the political side of it comes in, and so this is where engagement with Mayor Ash and MPP Belthuni is going to be important. So I think I just wanted to kind of, as I said, give everyone the heads up, because I think this is a potential community win, and especially in a community that's been not handed a lot of wins historically. I would like to see this go in the right direction.
How big is the property that it's going to be moved to? Do you know?
I don't have the dimensions on that. Like I don't on the it's big enough to fit the house. I'll tell you that much. Know that because it's not a very big house, and there is an interest in seeing something good come out of this because, as I said, the existing house former hall that's at the corner is beyond salvage. They're completing a heritage assessment right now to more or less put put a dot on that to say that there's nothing they can come back from. But being able, it's a high profile location, and the house would it just has a really it has a really interesting story, and I think that it would be a really interesting addition to Whitevale. It fits the context in terms of the board, mat, and design. It's around the same era, and we're not losing another heritage building. So it's not that far of a distance for it to go. So But yeah, like Steve, I can follow up with you as we move on this one.
It's something I could be personally interested in.
Yeah.
For the whole thing. So.
All right, I'll reach out. Let's talk offline. And Sherry, same thing with you, and Rick. Everyone basically is if anyone has anyone that is interested in it, we'll be taking open. It's basically going to be an open season for this one, and because we need to move fast. The biggest issue that we're going to be running into is IO, and it's not any fault of them. It's just the process they have that requires. It's almost a 6-month process, is what they explained to me. From the moment that the initial it's initiated to the moment that it's sold, and we've got 5 months less. Every day is less. So I'm just trying to move this thing forward. So that's 5.4, and then 5.5. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, just as a question, would this be an open bid process, and it would be on part or all?
If we have multiple people, I think that it would have to be. But at this point, I got the pricing back last week, so we haven't even got to the point in which we're soliciting potential bidders. I'm just trying to put the word out right now. I think that once we have a meeting with the mayor, and if there is multiple bidders, I think there'd be an interest in figuring out how to facilitate that, and that would require me, I think, talking once again to Regan and over in Markham to get an understanding of how do they deal with these types of projects, because this is the first time for me doing this type of work.
So there will be some sort of a descriptor to go out that would outline what needs to be done or what has to be completed.
Yeah, because there's a cost to keeping. Ideally, you don't want to keep a house on the cribs. Ideally, you don't want to keep a house on. You want to move a house and get it onto its new foundation ASAP. So there might be a small lay-by that the house is going to be, or the head would be sitting on the property while the foundation work is done. But it's still, as I said, this is a kind of a big blob that's kind of moving along, and so I don't have all the answers yet, and I think by June I should have more answers in terms of how this is going to be playing out. Because right now, as I said, we're really trying to find just is there interest, and Steve, if there's interest, that's great. If there's multiple bidders, all the better. So I think this is something that I'll like to bring forward to Mayor Ash, because I think he's really interested in seeing a win on this, and I know that the Residents Association is also interested in that.
What about the barn?
Barn is salvage. If you're interested in salvaging some wood, I'm sure that you could reach out to them. The barn is not going to be relocated, but the wood is. They have enough wood from the first barn from 815 Highway 7 for the addition to the back of that house. So there's no interest on their part for any of that wood.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
If you're interested in getting the word out, then you should contact Kristen Callis at the Pickering News Advertiser. She's the one who wrote the article back in March, and have her run another article with more details about what exactly is going to happen, including some more information about the structure itself and the costing. I'm sure she'd be happy to do a follow-up story to her other story, and that'd be a good way to at least have it get out to people in Durham.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, and you're right, Rick. Like there's a lot of questions that I haven't had answered yet. Like, so what's the what are the additional permits that are needed here? What from MTO, from Hydro in terms of relocation of that? So I need to loop back to. This is not part of my work plan. so it kind of came out of the blue. So we're and so I wanted to I wanted to do some initial research to find out, was this something the Residents Association wanted to, like, is there appetite there on that in terms of demolishing the existing property? Is that a problem? Is IO, what's their process? Are they interested in it? What's FGF's interest in this? What's their timelines? So and then so there's a bunch of questions that I haven't had answered yet. So I think, Sherry, this is a great one, because the costing is. The relocation is one fee, but then there's going to be additional fees, and I don't know what those are. So I need to set up a meeting now with building to understand, what is the process if I'm relocating a house within Pickering. What are how do we do this? And then also looping back to the house mover, walking me through what that process is and what additional permits and what those costs are.
And the preparation of the existing site. Who's financially responsible for the demolition and cleaning up of the existing site? Do they have to do environmental assessment or heritage assessment on the site?
Yep. I know there's a heritage assessment.
That.
I know. Time is not on our side. We'll say that, but I think that all parties are interested in seeing a win here, and that's a good thing. So let's keep moving forward on the good vibes. So I will be pushing this one. I'm going to be meeting with my manager tomorrow, and we're going to be mapping out what the next steps are. So we'll have an update for everyone in June. Okay.
Yep, just a question for Sherry there. You said news advertiser, that's no longer available here, but where would it go?
I actually get it every morning in my inbox. So you can sign up to get it digitally, like I do and lots of other people do, but it's very much alive and well, I assure you.
Okay.
Through durhamregion.com.
Oh, yeah. And that's Kristen Callis. How do you spell her last name?
C-A-L-I-S.
C-A-L-I-S. Perfect. And then 5.5, update on the official plan, community elements and infrastructure open house. So we had the open house on the beginning of May at the south end of Pickering. I made a presentation in terms of basic things that we talked about in terms of what is the approach to heritage, how relocation, maintaining houses in their original location, providing more space. All of this information is going to be fed into the policy part of the official plan development. The consultant who's been retained by the city to provide these policies or to kind of facilitate the process is going to be providing us with a what we heard report in the beginning of June. I'm going to be including that report with our next agenda because over the summer, the policy department or the policy planner is going to be developing the policies for the OP as an outcome of that report. And so I want to give the committee the opportunity to review what was heard at that meeting, provide your input as well on what that what's there, what's not there, what you'd like to see, because I don't want to wait until September because most of the policies will be like the brunt of the policies are going to be developed over the summertime. So that's going to be a report that's going to be coming in. It's not going to be a memo. It's going to be just an information report for that open house, and it'll give everyone that wasn't able to attend some sense of what came out of it on the other side. So that's it for new businesses or new business, and do I need to motion Andy to adopt new business, section 5, or can I move on to other business?
Yeah, there's no motion to adopt new business. You can just go to other business, and if there's anybody that wants to speak at that point, and then otherwise it's adjournment shortly after.
Yeah, all right. So anyone else have any other new business at all? No, good. And then our next meeting, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it would be June 25th. That's correct?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So that is, so we'll have a few more items coming forward at that meeting. And then it's vacation time for summer. So I see a thumbs up from Laura. But I was just wondering, can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Sherry was the first one up. Rick is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you, James. All right, everyone. That ends our May 28th. May 28th. God, this month is gone. May 28th Pickering Heritage Advisory Committee meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Cheers.
Have a good night.